bottom line is like, you've got to have a passion for bourbon. And I think the passion is going to drive that. That was what it was for me, just wanting to learn more about it and try to learn as much as I possibly could. Because if I'm going to be in the industry on any level, I feel like I got to have some street cred, right? Like I've got to know what I'm talking about, at least have some base level of knowledge.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of bourbon. I'm Kenny Coleman.
Ryan Cecil here.
And we are going to be talking about something that we do not have to our name. We are not a CPA. We're not an MD. We're not a Master of Bourbon. We are nothing. We're none of those. But I'm excited to be able to talk to somebody who is at least one of those. Well, two people that are one of those.
I do have my 7-day master distiller course at Moonshine University.
Sure,
so I do have a...
You got that underneath your belt.
Yes. I have my nice diploma with our group photo. So it's hanging in my office at home. So it's a proud accomplishment of mine.
We should probably bring it in here. We should hang it up in the new studio.
I know. I thought about that, but then I thought you would be like, oh, it's just you, not us. So
we'll put it above the AC unit so it's out of the way so nobody can look at it that.
Yeah. Or on the shelf behind some bottles or something covered up.
Nice and covered up. That's the way to do it.
But no, we are not certified Masters of Bourbon.
No, we haven't. And that's what I'm really looking forward to in this. It's like, you have this idea of sommeliers that are in the wine world, and it's really hard to figure out how does that ever translate into the bourbon world. And I think these guys are going to help answer a lot of those questions for us today.
Yeah, I thought that myself because, bourbon's this fascinating thing, especially with non-distilling producers, and lack of transparency, and then, different sourced mash bills. And so it's kind of crazy to like, how do you wrap your head around like, okay, can you tell me that this is from here? Or, kind of like a sommelier does. And they have similarities in the wine world where there's producers sourcing grapes and this and that. So yeah, I've been absolutely fascinated by this and want to learn more about it because it's got to be hard as hell to be a master of bourbon because there's so many variables. Because you can have the same exact mash bill from the same distillery made on the same day, and it tastes vastly different. And so,
yes, this corn was a vintage 2023.
That's right,
from
heirloom grain.
the valley of Bardstown. And
that's right.
Yes.
And that one's from Laredo.
Yeah. But I am very excited to welcome two gentlemen on the show today. So first we have Will Breeden. He is the co-owner of Indiana Small Batch, and Chase Henry. He's a brand ambassador over at New Riff. And both of these guys are masters of bourbon and have that certification of their name to it. So gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Excited to be here. We're in the presence of royalty.
I know. It's just like they know what they're doing over here. So Will, I'm going to kind of start with you. Kind of give us a little about your background, sort of, like what you got in, how you got into whiskey and how you did this. And, and you know what? This is also a first for us. You realize that, Ryan?
Oh, yeah. This is the first.
This is the first time we've ever had a distributor on the podcast.
Boy, you've gone to the dark side officially now. And you got the bag. We have some like Darth Vader music coming in on this
exactly.
or something.
And it's two first. We're first time recording in the new studio.
In the new studio.
722
cool.
West Main. So come see us. Check it out.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I mean, I grew up in rural South Carolina. And kind of bourbon was always in my family. I grew up, my grandparents drinking whiskey, drinking bourbon, and they do kind of the whiskey and water every afternoon, every evening. And as I grew up and became of age, legal drinking age, I started enjoying some bourbon. I think first bourbon I kind of got into was Wild Turkey 101.
Kind
of went straight to that.
That's a crazy go-to go straight to 101.
Doing shots, not really enjoying it the way it was meant to be, tasted, but spent a lot of time with that, and then just kind of enjoyed bourbon casually as a fan over the course of many years, and then my day job, I'm a nuclear medicine physicist and a diagnostic imaging physicist.
We're way out of our league.
Oh my gosh.
So I had an opportunity, I did a consulting business for a long time and had an opportunity to sell that business a couple of years ago, about 5 years ago. And at that point in time, had the opportunity to get involved with a distributor, small craft distributor. I knew the guys well through the industry. and just had an opportunity to invest in that and become a part owner in it. And
you regret it every day after that.
There's definitely challenging days.
You're like, this isn't what I signed up for.
We're not liked by anybody. We're not liked by the producer. We're not liked by the retailer. We're always trying to make everybody happy. But it's a fun thing because in the distribution side of things, my job is to basically go try to find new products to bring on to our portfolio. Especially, we specialize in craft whiskey. So that's really why I got involved in it. I wanted to have the opportunity to go and be able to bring on new lines that nobody knows about and get them out there into the public where they, can be enjoyed.
How many brands do you represent?
Right now we have probably about a bourbon and rye, probably 10 to 12.
Okay.
It's very small. And then we have some tequila and vodka and gin as well. But no wine, no beer, no RTDs right now, just whiskey.
Focusing on the spirit side.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very cool.
And Chase, kind of get a little about your background too, sort of how you got in this world and how you ended up at New Riff of all places.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Southwest Wyoming, but I've lived a lot of places, one of them being the UK. So
nice.
I actually came to whiskey from, I suppose, for you guys, the dark side.
Yeah.
I came from Scotch. Yeah.
Sorry.
I fell in love with Scotch a long time ago, before I was legally allowed to drink in this country.
Okay. All right.
It's 18 over there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, timeline, I guess. So you lived in the UK with your parents, or were you?
No. I moved to the UK to do a master's when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
I went and studied abroad there a couple of times when I was in college during my undergrad. So 20, 22, 23.
Just fell in love with fish and chips, and you're
I'm like, I gotta go there.
Gotta do a few years here.
Snake bites.
So, I did a master's in London, and then I went back and did a PhD in the Midlands. And so
wow,
I got
making
to
me insecure. All
I
these
know.
degrees.
Well,
y'all got more degrees than thermometer.
I will say I didn't finish the PhD. So, so I ended up getting to go to Scotland a fair amount and fell in love with Scotch. I do still enjoy Scotch, but I sort of really started to get into bourbon about 5-6 years ago when I moved to Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and I started working at a bourbon bar, and I worked at Wise Guys in Covington, which
it's a good spot.
They had that. They got pizza. They got everything there.
They got everything, So I just, when I get into something, I go all the way. So I went as deep and as far as I could, hence the Master of Bourbon stuff. And I ended up, I needed a change of scenery in terms of my job, and I was looking around, and New Riff had job options, and I've always really enjoyed their products. They're local to me. I get to go to the bar, all the fun stuff. And I did my interviews, and they're like, "Oh, why New Riff?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to work for somewhere that I don't have their whiskey sitting on my shelf and I can look across." And
I can be here in 10 minutes.
I can be there in 10 minutes, and I've got 5-6 of your bottles looking at me across the kitchen table right now. So and I'm very much enjoying what I'm doing over there. And
what's your favorite New Riff expression?
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
If he says red turkey wheat, I'm going to agree with him.
Or if you say Balboa Rye, I'll agree with you.
Oh, that's a good one as well.
Those are both really great. My go-to though is the malted rye. I really, really love that malted
that's a
rye.
good one too.
At least he didn't say the peated release.
Oh yeah.
Although I do enjoy that as well.
Oh,
that was the only one we're like,
dagger to the heart right there for us.
Well, some people like smoke, some people don't.
That's right.
Yeah,
I personally do quite a bit. So
very good. Well, I think we're going to tap back into your all's background and your history as we start diving into this and start learning more about it. So let's sort of talk about, let's lay the groundwork first of so what is the Master of Bourbon certification? Like who owns it? Who's the gatekeeper of it and everything like that?
Yeah, Chase, why don't you talk about the history on?
Yeah, I can talk about the history. I'm the history guy. So it's a group called the Council of Whiskey Masters. It's spearheaded by a guy named Joey that you guys have communicated with a little bit.
Emails, yeah. But he didn't spell Joey like Joey.
So his actual name is like Jorn.
Jorn.
He's a German guy.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, but he did he's friends with a number of people within the industry. And about 2018, 2019, they were looking around going, whiskey's really blown up, and it's kind of in the same place wine was about 20, 30 years ago. And, there's no body that's creating like a certification. Like, we need like sommeliers, we need experts, and that doesn't exist right now. So there's some misinformation, some confusing information.
Can't you just start a YouTube channel and be an expert? Yeah. Or a podcast?
That's what we did.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good too, especially when you get to talk to all the people who make it and who really, really know it. So they decided to start a council, and they pulled together a bunch of really knowledgeable people, writers, people who make whiskey, people who've been in the industry forever, folks like Steve Beal, Michael Veach, Lou Bryson, and many
Dave Broom,
Peggy
No Stevens,
Susan Riegler. She was one of my examiners this past April, which is slightly intimidating.
Yeah.
How did they, I guess, because there's got to be a chicken and egg scenario. So were they just anointed masters, or did they have to go through the process of being able to do this like you all did?
So the really interesting thing about it is they went, well, we're going to form a group, a board of people we think of as experts, and they're going to build out exams, tests, both lower levels, which are, a bit more accessible, into the master's programs. And then they're going to sit there, and we need like 5 or 6 of those guys to sit across from you, because we expect you to have a really well-rounded knowledge, and they don't necessarily have, all of them, of course, are experts. Like, if you're sitting across the table from Susan Riegler, she's clearly extremely knowledgeable and has done way more things than, you can imagine.
Yeah, she's only got like 6 or 7 books.
I think she released number 10 or something.
Yeah, but like, if you look back like maybe 30 years ago, Diageo actually had a Masters of Whiskey program. It was kind of born, the Council of Whiskey Masters was kind of born out of that, because at the time Diageo needed to have a way to educate, their, employees, their high-level employees, on all things whiskey. And so the council, when they created the board originally, the Council of Whiskey Masters, they got every person who was a Diageo Master of Whiskey to join the board. And so that was like Steve Beal and Marty Duffy and others as well. And so it was kind of like a resurrection of that, even though Diageo is obviously not affiliated with this at all. But that program kind of went away over the course of time with Diageo. And the council felt, there needed to be this program, where you could basically, it's born out of education, right? It's about lifelong learning about whiskey and continually learning about whiskey. And so that's kind of the genesis of it,
Yeah, so we had some of those old school masters of whiskey from the Diageo program, plus folks that we went, of course, Lou Bryson's super knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Of course, Dave Broom is super knowledgeable. So you have, the people who are examining you, it's this great mix of people who make whiskey, people who have written the history books, people who taste whiskey all the time, plus, people who helped create and went through the original program.
Yeah. So did they have that blueprint kind of like that you could as a starting point, and like what points of emphasis were they kind of focusing on in the Diageo program, and like how have you built on what they started?
Yeah. So, I mean, probably the big components would be obviously theory, bourbon theory. So production, history, knowing all the history of bourbon and the history of whiskey, if we're talking about Scotch, understanding all the production, from fermentation, distillation, maturation, knowing brands and brand history, brand story, knowing, current events, topics, being up on current events and topics like that. And so that, I can't really speak to what Diageo did, because I don't really know the specific components of how they handled it, but I know this is kind of what the Council of Whiskey Masters.
So Diageo, of course, because it was their products, and Diageo's always had a gigantic portfolio and profile. Their program was more focused on Diageo, talk about what we make.
It's like, this is Bullet. We're not going to tell you where it comes from.
And this is Orphan Barrels.
It's all a mystery. Everything we do is a mystery.
This predates that a little bit. But definitely like, somewhere like Dickhold, it's been in their portfolio for forever. So it's focusing on that stuff, ton on Scotch, Johnny Walker, those blends, plus the single malts as that revolution happened. And so the council is, we're taking that model, and it's like, nah, it's not brand loyalty. And that's one of the big things is like, no, it's not a brand thing. Like, I'm a brand ambassador for New Riff, but that's not why I did this. Like, I was doing this before I worked for those guys. And it's about having a well-rounded knowledge within bourbon. And I've gone on to do the Master of Whiskey. So my knowledge, I had to then have a well-rounded knowledge of world whiskey. But with bourbon, it's, everything.
Yeah. So with the bourbon side, sorry to interrupt, is, we've talked about brand, we talked about profile. I guess what's the balance there? Because, it's, how much do you really need to know about brands to be a part of Master Whiskey? Or is it more like learning about, it's the history, it's the science, it's the law, versus this is Four Roses, this is Beam, this is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely obviously part of it, right? So with Master Bourbon, you're going to know, you need to know the distilleries that, you're not going to know every bourbon distillery, right? Because there's so many crafts out there now. But there's probably about 20 to 30 that you really need to know the history of, how they came to be, what they're producing, how they're producing it, and kind of have that base level of knowledge. Obviously the big six, a lot of the Kentucky distilleries, some of the Tennessee distilleries are kind of on the exam that you need to really have a good knowledge base on.
Does Texas make it in at all?
Yeah. Yes.
Texas made it in.
Texas made it in. We had the exam this year was at Garrison Brothers, actually.
Oh, well, then you sponsor it.
Surprise.
We're going to sponsor it down here in our basement next time. So Pursuit has to be part of the history on there.
But there's 4 levels of certification or 4 levels in the Council of Whiskey Masters. And the first level is, become a certified bourbon professional or a certified Scotch professional. And that's a self-study kind of a course where you'll get study guide materials. You go through that. You take a, online 100-question exam. And if you pass it, you move on. You can move on if you want, or you can stop there. And there's probably about 3,000 people right now that have that level 1 certification. And then probably about 10% or so move on to level 2, which is the certified whiskey specialist. And that's going to be, you've become certified in, level 1 bourbon or Scotch, and now you've got to go on to certified whiskey specialist. And that's all world knowledge of whiskeys. A little more involved because you got to know a lot of the, Scotch production, Scotch distilleries, and Japanese whiskeys.
Toss a little Irish in there too.
A little Irish.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Indian. And then from that point, once you've gone through level 2, then you can go to level 3, which would be the Master of Bourbon or Master of Scotch. And that's obviously much more rigorous process. It's fun and it's challenging. And the bottom line is, it's like, you've got to have a passion for bourbon. And I think the passion is going to drive that. That was what it was for me, just wanting to learn more about it and try to learn as much as I possibly could. Because if I'm going to be in the industry on any level, I feel like I got to have some street cred, right? Like, I've got to know what I'm talking about, at least have some base level of knowledge.
So I guess the obvious question then is what separates this between, say, like the stave and thief examinations?
So stave and thief is great. Not going to say anything about that. But
I've been through the program. I think it's great too.
It's a great program. Wonderful. But this basically takes the stuff you do for stave and thief for executive bourbon steward, and cranks the dial up to 11.
Okay.
It's like, all right, cool. Now we're going to take everything and go as far and as hard as we can kind of make it. Without the goal isn't to have people fail. The goal is to have people pass. Like, we want people to pass. But at the same time, there is a very high standard that you're going to be held to. We do a mentorship program, which is not. I was in the first group to take the Master of Bourbon exam in 2023 down at Buffalo Trace, and we didn't have mentors. We didn't have people helping us. So it was very much
it's like college. You just got to study on your own, right?
Yeah, we
came
came
to
in
finals and hope you did well.
We came in as a very every man for himself kind of. All right, jump in, let's go.
You didn't call a study group and like hop on a Zoom and quiz each other?
That didn't exist. It happens now, and we have mentors. So I've had 2 mentors now, both of whom have passed their Master of Bourbon.
Are they mentors or tutors?
A bit of both.
A bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you had Justin as your mentor.
Correct. Yeah. Every candidate for level 3, which would be Master of Bourbon or Master of Scotch, gets paired with a quote unquote mentor who guides them through the process, make sure they're on track, that they're doing their homework, they're doing their readings, they're doing, if you have questions, you don't understand something, you can go to them and ask them questions. And then obviously the blind tastings, part of this, level 3 exam, and the blind tasting is a big part of it. And
yeah, so was going to be my next question. Sensory involved in this, like not just from tasting, but nosing or being able to pick out different aromas, or is it just strictly tasting?
It's aromas. Yeah, it's everything.
Everything.
Yeah,
it's the whole enchilada. You have to put it all together.
Yeah,
you can't do one part and leave out the rest of it. It's a whole thing.
Is this broken up into multiple things, or is it just like all day? Cram it in 6-hour session, like whatever.
It's 2 days. Yeah.
So it is 2 days.
Level 3 is 2 days. The first day is usually two parts. One would be a oral theory exam. So you're with a panel of judges, usually 6 or 7. There's a panel chair that's kind of running the show, and they're just going to go through and ask you all kinds of questions. And there's usually 2 or 3 candidates together. And they'll kind of ask a candidate a question one at a time, and then they may go ask the next candidate the same question and see if they can expand on it. That's usually about 2 hours. And then the next part is a 2-hour written exam. So you have 6 essay questions. They give you 30 essay questions to study, and out of those, they will choose 6.
Oh, wow.
And so of those 6, you've got 2 hours to write, a detailed writing kind of essay form to answer those questions. And they can be on anything.
This feels like you're back in high school. I'd have to back in college.
I'd have to get my Adderall dosed out and focused.
I mean, it kind of feels like it's like a board exam for a doctor, right? I mean, this is exactly the same process that it goes through.
What 2 questions. How many have passed the level 3? And because I think you said 3,000 on the first level, but how many have passed level 3? And where do people, I guess, what is the most challenging, or where people stumble in that, that third tier?
So it's a combination of things. So in terms of the stumbling blocks, but right now, for bourbon, we have 11 people who've passed.
Oh wow!
Wow,
that's a high bar.
Yeah. So
don't ask us any
questions. Of the candidates who have taken the exam, we've had so far 4 have failed. One, though, she came back, retook it. She failed last year. She retook it this year and she passed, which is fantastic. Also, she was my mentee this year.
It gets you a little.
You're like, come on,
you're making me look bad over here.
When you're a mentor, you do end up pouring a lot of energy into it, and you really, really care. You really want people to pass. You really care. You want your person to make it. So she passed, and then we've had, when I took it the first year, we had 2 people who didn't pass. Neither of them have come back and tried to retake it. And then we had someone fail in Scotland who hasn't retaken it, and we had someone failed this year in Texas. I'm really hoping he'll come back and retake it. There's a couple of us who are like, no, the passion's there. You just weren't prepared. And I think that's the biggest stumbling block is preparation, right?
Yeah.
Especially at level 3. Level 4, it's much more like, all right, we know what happened. We're all on Zoom calls. There were 7 of us this year who took the level 4 exam, and every week we were on a Zoom call at least once a week, tasting whiskeys, talking through profiles, and then we started doing blinds where Adam, who's one of the head of education for the council, he would email we had someone, a designated pour, and he would text them, and we'd pour out the blinds, we'd do the blinds, and then we'd all hop on a Zoom call and talk to each other. And that's less of a thing at level 3 because you're essentially going in with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
And you're taking a wild shot. And so people have a tendency to be less prepared at level 3, or they'll think, oh yeah, I'm totally prepared. And then you sit down in front of them and it's just like, oh my goodness. Like, so for
they're
me,
an hour into the essays and they're like, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me, my experience at level 3, I prepared pretty hard and I thought I was really prepared. I was mostly extremely nervous. I was very, very nervous about doing it. And I passed, but I was the rubric of, did you do better than Chase? Yes, you passed. Did you do worse than Chase? You don't pass.
So what is passing? So is it like
I think
standard grade, like 70% or higher?
Is it a
That's
vote?
a good question.
It's a vote. Yeah.
A vote. Gotcha.
And you need a...
so it's subjective to people.
It's a majority vote. And if you have 4 people, you just need 2 to say yes, you passed.
Oh, I'd take the 4 then. I don't need the 5. Let's make it easy.
And there's certain things they'll tell you if you don't do this in the exam, like on a blind tasting, if you don't complete your notes, which is it's a full list of notes that you kind of have to go through on. You've kind of got to go through how you think it was produced, what you think the age was, the proof, was there any secondary maturation?
This is what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Yes, please dive into this.
Yeah. So you've got, when you do the blind tasting portion of the exam, it's 45 minutes. You get 8 whiskeys. You get a list of producers that they could come from, but you don't know the exact what it could be. So from Jim Beam, it could be Booker's, it could be Jim Beam White Label, it could be Jim Beam Black Label.
Is it like a matrix and they say like, here, like match the whiskey to...
No,
okay,
completely blind. Yeah. So the candidates, along with the judges, get all the same blind samples. No one knows what it is, not even the judges at first. And so
that's a humbling moment.
So for the first 45 minutes, everyone tastes blind, makes their notes. You have basically a laptop with a spreadsheet. You go through tasting notes, what you think the proof is, what you think the age is, what you think, was it column still, was it pot still, was it hybrid?
Ooh, I can pick that out.
Any secondary maturation.
Could you pick the hybrid though?
Chase, what else am I leaving?
You think?
out?
You've got mash bill,
yeah.
quality, complexity, and then of course, what do you think it is?
Yeah, who's a producer?
And all your notes. So it's something like Master of Bourbon. I want to say there's 24 brands it could possibly be, and I want to say it ends up being something like 150 possible bottlings.
Wow.
So
yeah.
So
I assume you don't throw any it's from like major brands, and you're not, because it'd be impossible to throw in like NDPs.
Here's one of the
like
400 MGP brands that are out
or,
there. Right?
Take a brand like Willet, for example, when they sourced a bunch of stuff, and you're like, there's a Willet 18-year, that was...
Willet is possible, but those single purple top bottlings are not eligible.
It'd be rye or pot still.
Yeah.
Probably for Willet. But then at the 45-minute mark, the judges find out what they are.
We actually find out 5 minutes before 45 is up.
You're right. Yeah, just a few minutes before. And so then once the judges know what it is, they can see how well they did. And then kind of then they go to each candidate and say, okay, let's talk about whiskey number 1. Tell me what your notes were and why you chose the producer you chose.
But it's not tasting notes. You're not like, cardamom or
tasting notes are there.
Tasting notes are there.
Yeah.
See, that's why I feel like it's so subjective that it's like,
that's okay.
It's like, I got Fruity Pebbles. But like, no, you're an idiot. This tastes like dark chocolate.
So here's the thing with tasting notes. And this is the thing I I stopped sharing my tasting notes for the Master of Whiskey because my tasting notes were so different from everybody else's, because my tasting notes are just going to muddy the water for everyone else. But for me, they work. And if my tasting notes help me get to the right answer or help me get to the right place, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So for a bourbon, we might have totally different tasting notes. But if we both end up in the same place, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
But I feel like there's some general tasting notes from every major producer. Beam, is notorious for the nuttiness. Old Forester with the banana yeast or whatever. You name it. But I feel like there's common tasting notes that should be present with each producer.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. And you should know those, right? You should be able to identify those.
Now, do you ever throw in Four Roses because they have 10 different recipes and 10 different, whatever yeast?
Four Roses is a possibility.
It sounds like everything's open,
because we've gone to Four Roses and done single barrel picks, and Mandy's like, we'll try 10, and she's like, try to guess all of them, and we maybe get like 2 out of 10 every time, and that she said that only one person has ever, and it wasn't even somebody that worked there, that's ever guessed like every single mash bill correctly.
Right, and so like once we start talking about them, they actually give you the option to go and change your answer. So,
I'll do that right at the end. Let her see every single
before
way.
So if you're going through something, you realize, oh man, I really missed this one. This is a wheated bourbon. Like I was off the mark on this, or I missed that. Like you said, that yeast strain, I missed that flavor profile that I should have picked up there. You have the opportunity to go in and change, who you think was the producer, and you don't have to get them. They don't expect everybody to get them all right. Like it's almost impossible. I mean, there are a few prodigies that do very well.
Kevin.
Freaking
Kevin.
That can get them
Who's this
all
Kevin
right.
guy?
He passed Master of Bourbon last year. He was my mentee. So again, I'm going to pat myself on the back slightly.
A good sensei.
But
I was about to say, I was like, can I be your next mentee?
Sure. Love it.
Yeah.
Kevin went 16 for 16.
Oh my gosh.
Smokes.
On the Master Master of Whiskey.
I don't even think I could do that with my own products. Like
no,
I
think he went 7 for 8 for Master of Bourbon. Like, it's ridiculous. I've never said it. Did mean though that when I was sat next to him doing the Master of Whiskey exam, I'm like, well, if I got the same answer as Kevin, I got it right.
Yeah.
But no, they generally, like, you can miss every single whiskey. You can get none of the producers right and still pass that portion of the exam.
Because if your like tasting notes line up.
Yeah, if you can talk through why you think it is what it is, that's as important, if not more so, than getting the whiskey right.
So it is like a doc, because you got to defend yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You have to basically present something, then defend it as to why you believe this.
Yeah, it's a thesis defense.
So that's different from like a master sommelier, because I feel like they have to know like exactly what year it was produced, what grape varietal it was, and they may not have to know the brand, but I feel like they have to know those two like pieces.
Yeah, regionality, varietal, all that kind of stuff. It's like we've talked. I remember when I was taking the Master of Bourbon exam a couple of years ago, we were talking with people, and it was like, well, which one's harder, Master of Scotch or Master of Bourbon? And hands down, everybody said bourbon, because of the way bourbon's produced with the new charred oak and everything. It creates a consistent flavor. Like if you just say,
well, and to the aging environment with bourbon versus Scotland, it's more drastic climate than Scotland.
It has to do with the variety of barrels, the climate shifts.
The differences are not as drastic, right, as with Scotch, and so that it is definitely, I think, more challenging.
I would 100% agree. Yeah. Not that.
Hey, because even
just means you pass.
Even other day, perfect example. We had a batch of Sagamore rye barrels that Sagamore produced from us. Produced the exact same day. We had like 32 of them, and I'm tasting through them, and 4 of them taste exactly the same. The next 3 taste vastly different, and then the next 4 taste vastly different. And it's like, how's this possible? They sell in the same rick in the same warehouse, made the same day. I get it. There's different staves, different that, but it almost makes it impossible to like be like, there's similarities in it. I'm like, oh, I know that Sagamore produced this. It's a 52-43-5 rye because it's, not this big spicy herbally 95-5, but still from that standpoint, it was like, if I was doing that blind, I would be like, this is impossible.
Yeah. And again, like they're always going to be blends, right? With the exception of Blantons. They may have Blantons on the category, you know, in a blind tasting as a single barrel, but they're always going to be
like a small batch product or a batch product.
To profile, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, part of that process of preparing for this exam is just blinds, you know, blind tastings at home. I had my wife pour blinds for me at least once a week, sometimes more, and just go through and taste and then get, you know, not necessarily what the flavor profile is you're supposed to get, but what do I get? And can I repeatedly get that muscle memory in my head so that, oh, every time I taste Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, these are the three things that trigger in my brain and my nose, and I can go to them and find them. I don't care what I'm supposed to taste and what I'm supposed to nose based off of other people's thoughts, but what do I taste and what do I nose? And just keep repeating that and build that muscle memory so that you can go to it and say, yeah, I know what it is.
So what percentage of the blind tasting is part of the exam? Like, I guess, you know, with the history, the production methods, this and that, like,
It's all pretty evenly weighted.
okay.
You know,
So say I'm like nail it on 3 out of the 4, can I pass? But the blind tasting or like,
yeah. So
Sure.
so for me, I'll go back to my experience doing the exam. I did not great on my blind. I panicked a little bit and I didn't fill in the sheet properly. Right.
you had some garlic that morning or something.
Had Indian food for
My,
lunch. Yeah.
my tasting notes were okay. I just didn't do everything I needed to do. So
It's like, oh, you got to turn around and fill out the back side of the paper,
yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of situation it
Because like,
was.
from my standpoint, I would be intimidated by, not intimidated, but maybe more liking on the production side of things, knowing like what degrees to offset cookers or whatever, this or that. But I would feel really confident. Like, can somebody like nail the tasting and kind of botch these other parts and still pass? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did pretty poorly on my tasting. I did okay on my written. I write really slowly. So I was happy with what I got down on the written, and apparently everybody else was too. And but come to the oral and I rocked it. I absolutely killed the oral exam. And that's what saved me. That's why I passed, right? It's like, okay, the knowledge and passion is there. And then he walked in and, okay, yeah, he can do this. His job is talking to people about whiskey behind a bar. And he was able to sit down at a table and do exactly that. So yeah, you can do poorly on one section, medium on another, and kill it on another one.
And you'll get the feedback, right? You'll get the feedback from the judges of like, hey, you need to like beef up this area, right? Maybe it's production, maybe it's fermentation, maybe it's history. Like for me, it was history. Like I thought I knew all the history I needed to know. And the great thing about the oral exam is when they sniff out something, then they go in for it, right? They go in for the attack, and they're going to really test what you know and what you don't know, because there's certain things about history that they feel like a master of bourbon should be able to have in conversation. And so for me, that was like kind of eye-opening. I realized, I got to go back and I need to spend more time from an educational standpoint, just so I know more about certain history aspects that I either had read and forgotten or just couldn't pop off the top of my head. So,
I mean, there's so much history that just comes in the world of bourbon. I mean, did you have to know everything?
And a lot of it's not true.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot of apocrypha running around.
Who invented bourbon? Was it that barrel that was in Elijah Craig's barn? Like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, Will had to sit down across from a massive history nerd, and I got to grill. Once I was like, ooh, that's a weakness. I just started grilling him on it.
Oh, nice.
And the thing is everybody's fair in the exams. It's a fair, process.
Do you have to know everything like prior to Prohibition, like the brands, the things that happened?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
In an ideal world, yes, but like I said, like you guys have mentioned, it's a thesis defense. So our goal in the oral exam in particular.
Well, part of a thesis is you present a thesis. You're just saying like, I'm just going to throw you everything.
Well, yeah. That's why I'm saying it's more the defense side of it.
You defend everything. Okay, got it.
So it's about finding the edge of your knowledge.
Yeah.
You go until you find the point that they say, I don't know, but I can look it up.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna be
Let's move on.
You're gonna be tested on your study guide material. So you're gonna get a list of readings, specific books that you're expected to read and understand, and they're gonna pull from those books.
Sure, Susan wants to sell a few more books, right? So she'd be like, "Yeah, I gotta buy."
Yeah.
I'm just
I actually
messing
don't
with Susan.
think any of her books were on there.
Do you have to learn?
Not
Do you have to
yet.
learn how to
Not
set a
yet.
table? From
But like
from Peggy.
like Mike Veach's book, full of history. That's a big one that I actually went back to after the exam and reread it just because I knew I needed to do a little better on that. So
I mean, you learn about the whiskey trust and all kinds of things that come out of there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's
Yeah.
all part of it as well.
So, what percentage of people that are category 3 have? And you may not know this, but I'm
Well, it
just
sounds like there's
I'm
only
curious.
10 at this point.
Well,
so.
I know, but how many have taken in? How many have moved on? To get that certification.
So I don't know what the percentage is, but
I mean, a rough guesstimate.
there's in terms of gone from
Because
level
10
3
out of
to
10
level
on it,
4?
then
level 3 to level 4. Is that what the question?
well, I'm
roughly.
just asking, like,
So like from level 1 to level 2, assume like a 10% jump. From level 2 to level 3, probably another 10% of what went to level 2, and then from level 3 to level 4.
It's a higher percentage, but the numbers are so small that there's 4 people who've passed the Master of
one
Bourbon.
person can swing the numbers.
Yeah, there's
Right.
one
way or the
person.
other.
Of the number of the people who've passed the Master of Bourbon exam, 4 of us have gone on to level 4.
Very
Got
cool.
it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Out of,
We are
how
sitting
many
with- we are
people
sitting with
had the
royalty, by the
opportunity
way.
to go to number 4 out of the 10 or 11?
If you pass, well, not out of all 11, because currently, unless Will decides he wants to do level 4 in the next few years.
How much time you got, buddy?
Yeah, that's the question, right? I mean, it took a solid year to prepare for level 3.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I took it, because I have multiple jobs. I just don't have time. I'm doing my studying at night, sometimes on the weekends. So, it's
Is your
you've got-
wife like, what the hell are you doing?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
kids games be damned at
There's
this point. We
whis-
got whiskey. We got
whiskey
in our-
books all over the bedside tables and everything, But yeah, I mean, it's a time commitment to prepare for it, and that is to that point. If you go in unprepared, you're not going to pass. You got to put in the time, the study time, and for level 2, level 4, it's all world whiskeys, so it's all Scotch. Irish.
That's where
Japanese.
I call it
Oh,
quits.
Yeah,
I'd
and
be like,
that's what I'm struggling with right now. Like, I'm very intrigued to do it just from a
Is there a blind tasting in that too?
yes,
With the
It's-
world whiskey?
16. Yeah,
2 blind tastings.
I mean, I think
I
I
just love to give you a peated
I-
one and just see you be like, and my palate's
they all-
ruined.
they all taste like
They're all done after this.
But I feel like I could pick out a Japanese whiskey from an Indian single malt from a Scotch. Where it would get muddy is if like you threw me multiple Scotches or Indian single malts or multiple Japanese whiskeys.
Yeah, can you pull Speyside from Highlands from
Exactly.
Campbelltown?
I definitely could pull like sherry versus peat. That's an easy no brainer. But yeah,
Yeah, but it's gets more complicated when it's like, well, this is a peated sherried whiskey.
yeah. or if you're
or
like, this
it's-
is a PX or versus an Oloroso, or
this is an unpeated Highland whiskey finished in that's 100% bourbon aged versus this is an unpeated Highland whiskey that's finished in Oloroso sherry. Like, oh man, it starts getting tough. It gets
Yeah, it
complicated
sounds like
really,
it.
really fast.
So I got 2 things. I guess the first one is test us. Throw us a question, if you can, of something that
Okay.
might be either on the oral or the written, and just to kind of see if we can go somewhere.
oh
here.
boy.
Do you want to give him?
Oh man.
Do you want me to? Or?
Yeah, you go for it. I can't think of anything right now.
Damn it, Kenny.
And
I didn't know you were
don't be
doing this.
easy on us, because this is you're talking to Whiskey
So-
Geek Nation out here.
Explain how still size and shape affect distillate.
Well, I haven't had to hand that over to you because I didn't go to Moonshine University.
Okay. So
Let's just talk about pot stills.
the best way I can explain this is that from what my limited knowledge of my 7-day course is, a pot still is basically like you have a column still with one plate, okay? Or, multiple plates. That a pot still is essentially one plate. What's happening inside of a pot still is happening inside of a plate and in a column still. And so, for Scotch example, barley is kind of more of a delicate, fruity grain that needs to come in surface with that copper, with the big belly to pick up those fruity esters and whatnot. And you're getting a lot of flavors from the actual grain. Now, bourbon, corn, from my understanding, you want it to be more cleaned up. So you'd rather prefer to go through a column still because most of the flavor is coming from interaction with the barrel. And so you want a more cleaner distillate. And to my understanding, that column still is just like mini pot stills all the way up. And so something like corn, you would want to, I would think, use in a column still, but something like barley or molasses, you would want to come in contact with that copper. And
so those are good answers, but explain to me like what the size and the shape of the pot still. How is that going to affect
I love this. I love
it. What is a line arm?
A line arm?
Yeah.
Ooh, don't know.
Okay.
I failed.
Say. I'll get back to you. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
So
Can I chat GPT
is that where it comes into it via
It's
like
what
a
comes
siphon?
off.
Oh, okay.
It's
Dang it.
so at the top of the pot still you have a line arm. It's the thing that comes off, and depending on the angle, you get more or less
so if
copper
you-
content.
So
If
where
you're-
it connects to the coils down into
And-
is that what you're talking about?
Like on
and-
the top of a pot still.
Yeah, like in the Willet logo where
Yeah.
it just has that thing at the very top.
So
Yeah.
if you
Or should I say the seal box
if you
logo,
don't
seal
know
box logo.
something, they don't want you to start making up nonsense, right? So they just say, I don't know. So then what I would say is, okay, tell me what affects reflux in a pot still. And then maybe that would take you on a different path where you could say, oh, maybe, line arm angle is going to affect the amount of reflux I get.
So this
or the
is like
size
getting
and shape
into
of the
being
pot still.
a
Yeah.
master distiller level.
All right,
is
I'll
what it
just simply
really is.
say I don't know.
There we go.
But
But
like,
this was
these are
fun. Like
types of
this was
questions.
No,
exactly
this is
like
great.
this was exactly the
And then
college
like another one would be how does fermentation time, length of fermentation, how can that affect the final flavors in a whiskey?
Yeah, you mean
Go ahead, Kenny.
All I know is that it's about 4 to 7 days, and whenever it starts caking on top, we know, hey, let's go ahead. Let's go run this
Well,
damn
you guys
thing.
you would crush current events all day, Kenny. Like
Yeah.
you
We
would
could
be
do
on
that.
top of that.
I would
yeah.
assume
Be like, so I saw on
fermentation
Facebook
time.
last week.
I would assume there's like a point of diminishing returns with fermentation. Like you're all right. I'm not trying to like make stuff up.
No,
I'm just
I
trying to
hear
go
you.
back to my moonshine,
Yeah.
like what I thought. But like because most of these producers are looking for yields or sugar, or they use the Brix meter to figure out what their sugar
Yield's gonna
content
be.
and yield's going to be. And so I would assume there's a point of diminishing returns when you go too long past fermentation that maybe you start to get earthy, more of different non-desirable flavors. That's just my
And then I'd ask why.
why.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why.
Yeah. Well, you got bacteria, right?
Yeah,
Bacteria is going to
bacteria,
come
yes.
in. Yeah. So that's always going to be
where
the
you
battle.
start getting
yeah.
bacterial fermentation at a certain point.
We're not
So-
taking this test.
See,
Kenny.
but this is great. I mean, like this kind of goes to show you exactly like if somebody was listening to this going like, this is gonna be a cakewalk. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And I mean, you just stumped two guys. I've been doing this for 10 years, and we're like, yeah, I got.
Well,
I got
I
nothing.
said from the get go, I was like, I would struggle with the production and the history side, but I feel like I would do well. I wish we had blind tasting. I would love to do that
Yeah,
part.
you crushed me. I'm gonna lose on all three, so that's all I know.
But again, like I couldn't have answered that, before.
So
I had,
what book or resources did you?
Oh,
learn for that?
there's a plethora of books they have you, they give you in the process, right? So
Yeah.
there's Lou Bryson's book, like one or two, Dave Broom's World Atlas of Whiskey. What are some of the others?
Yeah,
Michael
so
Veach, Yeah.
Veach's book is great.
Lou Bryson's book.
Both the Lou Bryson's books are really good for that. Actually, Dave Broom's World Atlas of Whiskey has just really good, simple, straightforward understanding of distillation processes around the world. It is fantastic. It's right at the beginning. It's in the first probably 10 to 20 pages, and it'll just walk you through everything. So as you're going through and he starts talking about the way a specific distillery functions and the whiskeys that come out of that, you can go, oh, I forgot that. And you can just flip back to the front and it's like, oh, it's all right there. The book Proof is pretty great.
Proof is a great one on fermentation.
Really good on fermentation, distillation, creation of flavor, and creation of alcohol.
So I
Trying
guess
to remember what else.
the next obvious question then is, so what drew you into doing this? Because most people, you go, you know, you get your MD, you go to a board because you want to be a doctor, you want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
For you all, what was it to say like, hey, I want to take this to the next level. I want to be Master of Bourbon, Master of Whiskey.
And yeah, what do you think it does for folks that pass it?
Yeah, and like what's the end state of somebody that does get to this? Like, what can it do for them and maybe their career or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll let you answer first, and then I've got some thoughts.
So for me, like I said earlier, when I get into something, I go all the way in. And I did level 1, went, this is really cool. And then Joey reached out to me and said, you did really well on your level 1. Do you want to be in the first group to take the Master of Bourbon exam? And I was like, heck yeah, I want to do that. Like, I jumped at it because I saw and I've had the experience of, well, within what I was doing at the time, working at the bourbon bar, it's like that expertise can carry me forward into new positions at that bar or in the future. And for me, it's been a little slower than some of the folks, just because I was in the first group and it's taken a little bit of time for people to really go, oh, that's what this is. This is really cool. So moving
Bourbon
on,
Pursuit becomes your resume booster at this point. So everybody's listening to this right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I've gotten really cool opportunities, especially since passing this year. I've gotten to, Will and I went and were judges at the Heartland Whiskey Competition a couple months ago or a month ago.
Yeah, for the American Craft Spirits Association,
which was
competition.
Fantastic, really, really great. I got to be a guest judge for the International Whiskey Competition. And then New Riff, when I told them I was doing this, one of the reasons they jumped at having me come work for them was I was a Master of Bourbon already. And then passing the Master of Whiskey, I got back, and within a few days of me getting back, I'm having a meeting with my boss saying, all right, cool. Now you have this. Where do you want to grow in this company? How do you think you can grow within New Riff? And things like that have grown for me. In particular, it's helped other people I know. Andy Wesley got headhunted based on the fact that he's a Master of Whiskey into what seems to be an incredibly cool job. And I can't remember the company he works for now, but they're the folks who are the distributors for like Charles Goodnight and Two Stacks out of Ireland.
Yeah, Andy's in particular, you know, he was the first candidate who passed Master of Whiskey. He's actually got a job title now at his company, which is Master of Whiskey. So companies are starting to recognize the council and starting to understand this is a place to have that expertise level, you know, to help their business in however, you know, different ways they want to, you know. And for me, you know, in the distribution side, I don't know if I want to be in distribution forever, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a challenging business. You guys know that. I don't know what the future holds with it in the normal sense of how we know distribution. And, you know, I wanted to challenge myself educationally, right? It's always about, for me, it's about learning and trying to learn as much as I can and know as much as I can so that I've got the skill set that I can talk intelligently about these types of things. I'm also like Ryan, I'm totally passionate about blending. I think it's fascinating and I love the whole idea. So I want to really focus on doing some of that in the future. And I just wanted to have this, the part of this I felt like would help me get there.
You gotta get Fraley on the board or whatever, you know.
Yep, she is. Yeah.
She is.
She is. I
know.
you want to throw any other names out there? Because I bet you they're on it too at this point. So.
Well,
yeah,
she's the GOAT. So
I'm with Will though on that one. I also fascinated by blending. I love the thing I really love is wood. I love barrels. I love blending, and that is also the direction I want to go. And some of the things I want to do.
It just gives you a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise. And the support, I mean, just the the friendships, the knowledge we have. I mean, if I need to call Steve Beal and ask him a question, I can pick up the phone and call him, and he's going to answer. Right? It's like just having.
I'm sure it's like a Stanford connection, right? It's like that's why you go there, is because you make the network.
It is. It's kind of like a fraternity, and it's a council. We meet multiple times a year. We obviously have the exam where everybody gets together and meets, but we've had a meeting in Colorado now that we're doing kind of routinely where we get together. And
speaking of, is Colorado on the list of the blinds, because they're becoming huge in the whiskey world?
Not right yet. Yeah.
Not for Master of Bourbon, but yes, for Master of Whiskey, we have Stranahans,
American single malt sort of thing. Okay,
so we have Stranahans and Balcones representing American single malts.
Okay, very good.
And so we, especially in the lead up to the exams, we try and set up weekends where we can get as many candidates together as we can to practice. So the big one we do is in Colorado. One of the new masters of Scotch, and he's going for his Master of Whiskey next year, is a guy named Tavo. He runs an awesome bar in Fort Collins called The Whiskey.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's great, right? But he basically goes, we're going to turn the back room into a study room. And so we had all the people who'd passed Master of Whiskey came, as well as some of the other masters who weren't going to be candidates, and you had study groups. So if you were a Master of Whiskey candidate, you all went and worked together on blinds and stuff, and Master of Bourbon did it together, Master of Scotch all went and worked together. So we try and do things like that every year, couple times a year, to help prepare candidates.
So the exam, 1 year it'll be in the U.S., 1 year it'll be in Scotland, and then they're thinking about adding a third option where it'll be in Asia, somewhere in Asia 1 year.
We're looking for a reason to go to Japan or Australia.
Right,
I think this is it.
Those are both places that are on the list. I know both Starward and Lark have offered for us to do it there, and I can't say for sure where in Japan, but there's a really, really cool distillery in Japan that we're talking about going there in 2027.
Very awesome.
The 2026 exam will be in Scotland in September of 26. So that's the plan. That hasn't been determined where yet. They're working on that now.
Yeah, because we've had a conversation with someone, and then that person stopped working for that company.
Okay.
That kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in that plan.
I do have another question, though.
Sure.
So you're going on this. I mean, right now you're hitting a huge audience of bourbon connoisseurs and people that really take this hobby seriously, and they might be thinking like, "Hey, like, I've done Stave and Thief. I've been here. I've done this. Now it's time for me to start leveling myself up and figuring out what's the financial ramification of this, of saying like, this is what it's going to take to actually get to this next level, because I'm sure this is not free. It's going to, let's take travel or T&E, travel and entertainment out of this, but it's just purely what it takes to actually like take the exams, get in the room and everything like that.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
I will say that. The lower levels are $400 to $500. So they're a little more accessible, a little more approachable. We send you all the study materials, all that. When you get into the masters, you're looking at,
what's my mentor per hour over here that I got to charge, right? I'm just messing
that's
with
free.
you. Yeah,
that's free. That's free. I don't cost anything.
That's the best deal in whiskey right there.
Yeah,
I'm free-ish. Yeah, I expect more delicious bourbon from you. But that's where the cost starts going up. So you're looking at purchasing bottles, or if you have access to a large collection, getting samples from someone, and then the cost of the exam itself. I think it was $61 for my first one and $79 for my second.
Okay,
$100.
Yeah.
But I will say, once you're there, and that money goes to, that's why you get to have Lou Bryson as an examiner. That's why you get to have Susan Riegler as an examiner. That's why you get to have Sebastian Gavier or Dave Broom or any of those people.
And it also like when you're at the exam's, a multi-day process. So we have wonderful dinners with blind tastings every night. It's a lot of fun. It's the chair people, the board will put these blind tastings on and pick whiskeys from all over the world. And we have great dinners. Obviously your stay there is covered in that fee as well.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Once you get there, you have to worry about it. You have to get yourself there. But once you're there, you worry about nothing.
So once you fail, though, you have to pony up again, right?
I think they probably cut you a little bit of a break.
There is you don't pay the full fee again.
Got it.
Yeah.
I would have to ask.
I don't know what it is, but it's
all right, Kenny, I want to go through it.
Well, you're the only person that has to go through it 4 times because you just keep going back for the food, right?
That's right.
But yeah, we actually stayed somewhere really nice this year. That spot we were in Texas was really, really nice. It was also a winery and brewery, because when I took the Master of Whiskey, we were at BT and we had nothing to drink when you were done but more whiskey. And there's a certain point where you burn. Believe it or not, you do eventually burn out.
Oh yeah, that's where I just want a Miller Lite.
Yeah, exactly.
I drank a room temperature Yingling, and it was the nectar of the gods. It was great. But because this place was a winery and brewery, when you got done for the day and before dinner, you could go get a beer, you could go get a glass of wine, and it was really nice. And we all had our own every room was a suite. So we all had our own little suites with living rooms and stuff. I brought Will back to mine and gave everybody some.
Got some pre-Fire Heaven Hill.
I
have
a pre-Fire Heaven Hill mellow corn in a big plastic jug. So, perfect thing to give all the Master of Bourbon candidates.
You take it on a plane.
Yeah.
Well, I drove.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
But, and again,
a big box.
I just want to say too, the council wants the candidates to pass. Like, it's in their interest they don't want people to fail. They are as, they are as supportive as you will allow them to be to you. And that's all, I can't state that enough. Everyone in this whole process has been super supportive and encouraging and there for, helping answer questions and figuring out little tricks with blind tastings that will help you. And all those things add up. It's important.
Very much so. Well, guys, this was so much fun. Getting in here and kind of understand exactly
I got to go back and study distilling production.
I'm not even going to go study because
I got to get my Seagram's Blue Book out.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to fail. Like I guess it's one of those things. It's like I would love to be able to see this when anybody wants to call themselves a master of whatever. And over here, that you do have.
I've never claimed him.
you do have to go and kind of understand a lot of this and know what goes into it, because I think. Fred Minnick talked about it all the time. It's the word master distiller gets thrown around like willy-nilly, and anybody that's just been a distiller and just makes their way through the ranks because they have a little bit of tenure somewhere becomes their master distiller. Yet you go through something like this and you get grilled. I don't know. You probably stand flat-footed and you're going, well, I don't really know what I'm talking about anymore. Yeah. But this was, again, just something that was very fun, very interesting to be able to know. So 3 different sign-offs. One, if people want to learn more about the certification, how they get signed up, how they start with level 1 and how to go beyond there, how do they do that?
Council of Whiskey Masters website. I believe it's just councilofwhiskeymasters.com.
Yep. And then there's a great documentary on YouTube. The 2024 exam, they did a documentary on the whole thing, so you can kind of see the whole process step by step and kind of how that level 3, level 4 exam works. And that's a great video to watch. So.
Yeah.
And then the last sign-offs for each of you, kind of, Chase, we'll start with you. How can people find out about you, find more to know about you, contact you, anything like that?
Mine's pretty easy. I'm Chase Henry 88 on Instagram. That's the thing I'm most active on. So if you're curious about me, I'm really bad at updating it, but I'll trying to do better. So yeah, you can find me on there.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Cocky Wolverine. That's
wow.
That's a hell of a
Let me
name.
explain what that is.
Yeah, I was about to say,
it's like you're in Indiana.
It's like a South Carolina, Michigan thing going
That's
on
exactly what it is. Those are my 2 favorite college mascots, because I'm from South Carolina, but I went to Michigan for school, so I'm Cocky Wolverine.
Very good. Hey, that wasn't too hard to figure that out there. We got it. Well, Ryan, I can tell you right now, I'm not prepared to go into this, and I don't think I ever will be.
Nor clearly I wasn't either. So
I think you both could do it, and we'll be your mentors. So
yeah,
you
happily,
got it, man. Just, I think you should
only
do
if
it
we had
right.
the time. Only if we had the time. Rock, paper, scissors for you. You're going to go into it?
I feel like I have a better chance.
You
No,
might
I'm
have
kidding.
Yeah, actually. Well, you've had the
If it was
big
Excel
background.
formulas, I would say Kenny all day.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But I love the history side of things. You like, and you've gone through a lot of the tasting notes. Like you crush me in that all the time. So, is there a way that we can both
Go
go
as
in?
one.
Both go in and
as the dynamic duo.
Yeah,
that's
we'll,
right.
we'll
split it. Yeah,
As a
We'll-
team.
Yeah,
we'll talk to them about that and see what they say.
yeah, we'll do that. We'll wait to the point where they need like honorary doctorates, and then we'll honorary inductees. And
It'll come with a donation.
There you go. The library will be named after Pursuit.
That's right.
Well, Will, Chase, I want to say thank you so much for coming on today. This was a pleasure to be able to talk to you about the certification, what you've been through. Congratulations as
Yeah, that's
well.
awesome.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you
you for
very
putting
much.
it together. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is by no means a feat of huge exorbitant of actually going into this. And I don't think I really knew going into this of what it was going to be, but explaining this very much opens my eyes to understand that this is nothing that just the casual consumer can go and be like, oh yeah, I just became a master of bourbon. We're like, no. Like this is like you're the cream of the crop. You are not even a 1%er. You're less than a 1%er of what actually takes to be able to get here. So congratulations to you both for getting to this point and sharing your story with everybody like this too.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very awesome. And so if you like the show, want to hear more stuff like this, make sure you send us a message and say, hey, I love this. Go find more masters of bourbon and bring them on the show. Tell their story, everything like that. I think it'd be fun to understand the backgrounds and history too. But if you do like the show, make sure you you can support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. You can also leave us a review, and best of all, send it to a friend and say, you think you know bourbon? I bet you don't compared to these guys. So that's
Do you know
how
what
you can.
size pot still you need?
Yeah, exactly. To get the most, I don't even know anymore. It was the question. I've already forgotten it.
That's all right.
We'll need to get the 16 questions, and then we'll break it down from there in the future. But with that, cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Toodles.